Hello friends, as someone posted in our group, so today's question is, which estimation method is good to use? Story points, hours, or combination of both, or fourth option, no estimation? It's an interesting question. Let's see the answers. Bye, have a nice weekend.
For today's question, which estimate to use? Story point, hours, a combination of both, or no estimate? Responses. To start with, let's understand why the estimation is really required. The first point is from customer's point of view, wherein when the customer is putting up a vision for a certain feature or a product or an enhancement, when should they expect it? Should that be 3 months down the line? Should that be 30 months down the line? When should that be? Because based on that, they would be putting up promotions in the market and giving out information to their stakeholders, further to their investors, when they are going to be this new feature will be released. From management perspective, they need to know if the number of people in a team are apt, or should that be more, should that be less, just to optimize that number of team members. And then uh, based on the number of team members, will we as a team, as an organization, will we be able to meet the expectation of that timeline that is being put up by the customer? So estimation is important from that point of view. Now, the question of which to use. The TLDR version of the response is, teams should know, or teams should be able to know in a certain number of sprints if the estimation that they are using is good enough, if they are comfortable using that or not. If not, try a different one for a couple of sprints and then evaluate, compare, going back to the Scrum pillars empiricism. If they inspect and they understand, no, this is not working, change something, try and learn and adapt. So that should be the approach as per my understanding. Going back to a statement in going back to the statement of Agile Manifesto, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Now, for that, if that needs to happen, there should be more emphasis on how how frequently we are collaborating with customer, instead of how we deliver stuff. Is it going to be in number of hours, story points, or what? Uh, that's a discussion for another day. Now, when to use hours? I believe if team members know their work in and out, they know what to be done, what to do, what not to do, and the number of challenges that they have at hand, the number of uncertainties that they might face, the number of challenges that can come, the number of known issues that they know at as of today. Maybe ours is a good estimation, because then they might be able to project a certain level of confidence. If that's not the case, if they don't know the code, if the complexity of the logic that they have to implement is not simple, they might want to relate it in comparison to a certain story. Now, let's say there's a small story that they want to refer and take it as a base, and then they compare all their future work based on this smallest unit of story. And then they say, okay, because that took them let's say one story point, this is going to take them two story point or three story points, something like that. If that's the case, then yeah, story points is a good way to go. But even then, when they are actually going to start the work, while dividing these subtasks, maybe a combination of both is a good approach to go, wherein they know, okay, this is a smaller user story, but now, just to execute this user story, what is going to be my plan? I'm going to create a ticket, maybe 15 minutes, follow up. They would get the things done in, let's say, one day. That's their SLA. Meanwhile, I'll be able to put a dummy logic around it. And then after the access and everything, I would be able to do A, B, C, and in less than 3 days or 3 hours or whatever number of time, I'll be able to do finish this particular number of subtasks In turn, this story with X number of story points would be done. In that case, maybe a combination of both is a good way to go. Now, coming to no estimate part. Now, no estimate is a very advanced level of skill from what I understand. It requires a very clean code in a sense that the technical debt has to be very low or it does not have to exist at all. Because when I start to work, I should not be in a situation where I'm fixing the old code or redundant code or dead code or some older exception is coming up which I have to handle. So that just has to be inexistent. The level of expertise that my team has in terms of technologies which is being used or the knowledge of architecture with the architects or the functional people, it has to be top notch. The the mix of team members, the low experience, the high experience, the middle level of experience in my team has to be a good balance, and it has to be stable enough. The tools which are already implemented should definitely be CI, CD, automated testing, quality checks. Sonar Cube should be there after every check-in that I do. The code repository, the document repository, the knowledge repository, they all have to be in place, updated every time without fail. Um, so all these things have to be in place. Then only I can say, at least from the code perspective, I'm not going to face any challenge. There are going to be very small number of uncertainties. Now comes to the part of requirement or user stories. For the team who's going to work with no estimates, they should be able to have stories which are very small. If it's a large user story, a high complexity user story, it just cannot be considered in this sprint. It has to be broken down further, and only small number of small complexity or smaller in in size, those user stories would be considered. Now, if that's the way to go, no estimates is a good way. Now, the question is, how do you calculate the velocity? Now, in that case, like I said, you consider only smaller user stories. So what you do is you go to the past sprints and you calculate the number of stories that you're going to do that you've already done in the past, and then you take that as a base for your future planning. That's the way to go with no estimates. So yeah, that's the response.
Hi all. So today's question is, which is a better estimation technique? Is it estimating in story points or hours? So first of all, it's very important to understand when this estimation is being done and what is the purpose of the estimation. So mostly the estimations are used for maybe release planning or to make a decision of make or buy. So these helps stakeholders to finally decide whether they want to take away this feature or not against the cost they are paying. So or the cost which is required by the organization to put in. So the first level of estimation, which is done at very high level just to make a decision whether this is needed or not as a feature in the product itself, or for the clients or the stakeholders to decide whether they want this product or not. Now this is done at a very high level, maybe 2 to 3 pages at max, where at very high level the initial estimates are done. Now that can be done in story points as anything, whatever measure is being used by the stakeholders to identify in an organization. So in my organization we use story points, and that's how because mine is a product based company. Now there are some service based organizations where cost based estimations are done based on the efforts, based on whether it can be fixed value projects, or it can be somewhere per person billing kind of a project. So it depends on that, but the what contracts are there. So so first level of estimations can be done in any unit just to make a decision whether to go or not. But when it comes down to the team, right, irrespective of whatever the billing cycle or the project cycle is, the estimations by the team should be done in relative sizing. It should be done based on either story points, t-shirt sizing, or anything which is relative. The thing is that and there should be two level of estimations which can be practiced. So the first level, like when the story points are assigned to a particular epic which the teams decide on, because the story points is a relative estimation, it also it considers all three factors, like efforts, the complexity, the risk, the dependencies, and all such team when they get closer to the estimations they have given. So that is also a sign of a mature team when their estimations are actually coming closer and closer to what they had committed on. So these are about estimations. Now what we do in practice is, we have a story points. So let's say, suppose there are there are 5 epics in a team for a release. Okay, so we do a decomposition, and we do in story points itself for the stories. Now during the sprint planning, what extra thing you can do is, based on the tasks which are there, you can break it down into hours by asking team members how much it is going to take. This will give us a picture whether what we have estimated is going to be covered or not in a sprint. Let's say, suppose it's a 8 story pointer, but the person to whom the task is the story is assigned, it's chosen by the person in the team. They are not able to they'll not be, so let's say, suppose coding was clear, like it would be taking 5 days, but for the new person it might take 8 days. So that is a sign that, okay, this story is going to spill. So breaking down the task into hours, sometimes not exact hours, but asking the teams and getting that thinking spark going on in the team gives them a provision to analyze and figure out at the start only whether the commitment is too much or not. So that ways, but it is for a very new team, when the new members are there and the team and all. In case of mature team, they'll be good with story points. When they estimate, they know they have a relation there in their mind based on empiricism, what we speak about in Scrum. So they can do a good round of fair estimations there. So that is about estimations. Also, importance of breaking down the task of each story is, if the stories are not small enough, like if it's an age pointer, definitely, or more, so definitely it should be broken down, because then that means the definition of done is also stringent, and all the tasks of definition of done are being met or not. So that ways it is important during the sprint planning to call out what tasks are there, and is the estimation is in the right direction or not. Sometimes it happens that the teams would like to, in case of mature team, they'll be good with story points. When they estimate, they know they have a relation there in their mind based on empiricism, what we speak about in Scrum. So they can do a good round of fair estimations there. So that is about estimations. Also, importance of breaking down the task of each story is, if the stories are not small enough, like if it's an age pointer, definitely, or more, so definitely it should be broken down, because then that means the definition of done is also stringent, and all the tasks of definition of done are being met or not. So that ways it is important during the sprint planning to call out what tasks are there, and is the estimation is in the right direction or not. Sometimes it happens that the teams would like to re-estimate something, or say that no, this looked like a 8 pointer, but maybe will not complete, so let's create a part 2 of the story. So that's how we need to just ask questions and trust the team to do their best. Yeah. For no estimates, I've not used it ever, but I've heard a lot about it. So this, I think, works best in an environment where there are agile contracts. So where it's just value delivery is all that matters, and there is a very high CI/CD. I mean, there's a very impactful CI/CD going on, and the production deployments are very frequent, and we don't wait for 3 months to deploy it, because then the value of what is going on the sprint can be seen by the users themselves, and it helps them better plan. So I think there, in that scenario, the no estimates works good. In product based companies also it should work. There can be a possibility that in service based organizations it would be little difficult, because if there is no estimate absolutely, how the budgeting and the billing would be done is, I'm not very clear on that. So that's my answer for the day. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. So today's question is, which estimation method we should use? Story point, hours, a combination of both, or the fourth option is no estimation. So first of all, let's see what is relative and absolute estimation. Basically, like what is the story point and hours estimation, you can say. So first of all, what is story point or relative estimation? Suppose we can take an example. Um, in my house there are two rooms and one hall. The two rooms are like the hall is the double of the room size. So now the painter came and he said like he will take 3 days to complete a single room. So from this I have calculated that he will take like 6 days to complete the painting of hall. So this is an example of relative estimation, or you can say it's an example of story point. Here what we are doing, we are just taking a single room as a base, and we are like we are calculating the estimation of hall based on the base size of our room, and we are relative, basically we are doing the relative estimation here, as compared like we are comparing our hall with the room. So here so this is the best example we can say for our story point estimation. Here what we do is, generally we take one base user story and we compare the other user story with the base one and provide the relative estimation based on that. So the second one is our estimation, so which I personally feel is not a good method to do estimation. So let's see what is the reason behind that. So when we estimate in hours, the thing is, we don't know, like we will be completing our work in particular in the definite or absolute estimation that we have provided. Suppose team A has provided the estimation as 4 hours, whereas the team teams B says that they will take 8 hours to complete the same work. So basically here it depends on the experience of the team members, and like how experienced they are, how technically strong they are. So what I feel is basically, and also the team members will not be 100% productive in all this 4 or 8 hours estimation whatever they are providing. So so as for me, what I will choose is the story point estimation, that is relative estimation is most preferred one, and I will prefer a story point estimation, because in that the wastage of efforts is also less. And during story point estimation, we consider three things. First is effort, the second is complexity, and the third one is risk. But while we are doing the estimation through hours, we are not considering these factors generally. So that's why my preference is story point estimations. Like I have considered the example of house painting. So if suppose I have I estimate through hours, so the painter says that he will take 4 hours to paint a small room. But now how I will calculate the timing, or the how much hours he will take to paint the hall, which is a double of that particular room. So it's very difficult for me to calculate. But when we see relative estimation method, so it's easy to calculate based on the base user story, or based on the base room that we have. The other one, third one, which is no estimation, is basically where the team feels like it's a waste of time to provide an estimation, and they feel like if the user story is perfect or okay to take into a single sprint, they will just take it without doing any estimation, and they will complete it. They are more confident, and they feel they will complete it in the particular sprint. And also, like, suppose if the team feels they are not able to complete that particular user story in the sprint, what they will do is they will split the user story, and then take that user story into the sprint to complete it. And they don't believe, or they don't like to do estimation, as they feel it's waste of time, and they believe on their own capability. So, but yeah, my preference is always relative point estimation. Thank you.
Hi all. This week's question is, which estimation technique is more effective? Whether it is story point estimation or hourly estimation, and the other option is combination of both, that is story point and hourly estimation, and the last option is no estimation at all. So before I start, I would like to list few benefits or importance of the estimation, and why is it important for us to estimate any task. Because the first thing is, it helps to manage our product backlog in a better way, so that it helps us to prioritize the backlog with the help of team, and it so that it improves the team coordination also. And the second thing is, it helps to improve our decision making and make the sprint more effective. It can also help us in planning also, so that if we are not able to pick any task because it is complex or it requires more effort, in that kind of situation it helps to make proper decisions. And along with this, it enables better team coordination, and also if there is any risk, it helps to spot that at the earlier stage. Along with this, it helps to understand our client expectation, so that we can forecast our future work during the sprint. In story point estimation, we are trying to do the relative estimation. When I say, we are trying to compare something with respect to some reference. So the advantages with respect to story points can be, it gives us more accuracy, and along with that, it improves the team alignment, and also it improves our team bonding. Though there are various advantages using story point estimation, few disadvantages what I feel from my experiences, people often get confused while estimating the task in the story point, or else they will incorrectly try to use it to compare the velocity within the team or outside the team. And it cannot be used to predict until we know the velocity is known, or if it also requires the previous historical data, so that team makes the story point estimation more effective. Whereas in the hourly estimation, though if the requirement is understand and clearly understood by the team members, so at that point of the time team can go with the hourly estimation. And that one disadvantages what I feel with the hourly estimation is, it will try to highlight the slowness of any specific developer, I can say, or it will try to create a kind of stress within the team when we are doing hourly estimations. And the third option, where the combination of story point and hours. So there are situations where few team members will be converting story point into hours. For example, if it is like any work a developer is picking, it is taking less than 4 hours, so at that point of time they are assigning as 0.5 story point. Or else if any task which is taking half a day of work, in that case I can say 4 hours, so the 4 hours work what a developer will be doing will be estimated as 1 story point, and for the 2 story point it will be a 1 full day, that is 8 hours. And if we are going for 3 story points, then it will be 2 day of work, which is equivalent to 16 hours, I can say. And likewise, using Fibonacci sequence, we can convert like story points into hours. So now I will pick an example where we have an octopus and there is a human being and also there is a giraffe. So the requirement here is to wash a car. It is a 2-seat car and also a large large sized car. In that scenario, we know that a human being has 2 arms, whereas the octopus is having the speed or the effort required by the octopus will be very less as it is having more number of arms, whereas giraffe with this long neck, it cannot bend to wash the 2-seated car, but it will try to manage to wash the car. So like this kind octopus, or as a human being, or as a giraffe, we have different kind of people in our team, whether it can be junior resource who is not aware of the tools, and we have a experienced person who will be able to complete the task with a less amount of time than the junior resource. So all these things will matter. In that point of time, we can't say that the estimation in terms of hours is more effective, or the estimation in with the story point is more effective. But from my point of view as a Scrum Master, this estimation technique should be implemented in a team in an effective way, so that it improves our decision making and we make our sprint more effective. And coming to the last option, that is no estimation, this can happen in 2 scenarios. The first scenario is team is not willing to estimate their task because they don't know what the requirement is and how the requirement is coming. Maybe the scenario is the absence of PO might impact in many ways. The one such thing is the estimation, because if a developer is not clear with the requirement, irrespective of any type of estimation, he or she will not be willing to estimate the task, as there are certain uncertain requirements that are coming from the client, or if there is no clarity on what has to be done or how it has to be done there, because there is no prioritized backlog. So this kind of situation also might be in the team where they will not be able to estimate. And there are other scenarios where team is implementing Scrum newly and they are in a forming stage, and because of which they are not sure how to estimate, and they have insisted since management have insisted them to implement the Scrum framework, they are trying to adapt to agile way of working. And the last thing what I would like to say is no estimation. If team is matured enough, they are independent and they don't require anyone to direct what has to be done, how it has to be done, at that point of time team might go with no estimation option. But it is a very rare case, at least as a Scrum Master, because all human beings are not same, and just to avoid any gaps or any communication misunderstandings within the team, as a Scrum Master we need to ensure some estimation is required. So I don't prefer with a no estimation, and I don't go with the hourly estimation also, but because it creates a mental stress to the team member as well as for me, so I would like to prefer going with a story point estimation technique. Thank you.